Zombie debts. When a collector sells your old debt to another company and that company continues to report it to the credit bureaus, even though it is past the statute of limitations, is called a zombie debt because the darn thing keeps rising from the dead and coming back to haunt you. When writing a letter about a zombie debt, use plain English and demand to have the account removed. Letters that contain excessive legalese are less successful. If you need to state that you have an attorney who's ready to file a lawsuit, go ahead and state that. It is your legal right to insist that they adhere to the law. How to handle paid-off collections and charge-offs. If you already paid off the collection or charge-off so that it shows a zero balance, you can still get it removed. In Chapter 1, I mentioned a loan officer who cleaned up his credit and went on to buy a $975,000 dream home in Woodinville, Washington. Here's the rest of that story. The loan officer had sufficient income and a down payment to buy a house. His credit score was in the mid-500s. Due to a string of collections from the past when times were tough, he got behind on his bills. However, that was in the past. He had already paid off all the delinquent accounts, but as a result of having those old collections on his report, he couldn't qualify for the loan they needed to buy the house they had fallen in love with. I gave Mr. Loan Officer the credit investigation form that is included with this book. Since he had already made good with all the creditors, he did not need to negotiate payoffs. Therefore, this simple form was sufficient for his situation. Within just 6 weeks, a whole page of collections was removed from his credit report, and his credit score rose by 65 points. A few remained, so he went on to step 2 for those. Since the account had a zero balance, his step 2 was not to ask for credit validation, but rather to dispute again, this time with a written letter, not the credit investigation form he had used previously. This time the credit bureaus deleted the remaining paid-off collections off his credit report permanently. I held the two reports in my hand side by side. Now his score was over 620, and he was qualified for an FHA loan. 1 year later, his credit improved even more, having another 12 months of on-time payments, plus the added points of a mortgage loan boosted his score so that he refinanced into a conventional loan with a lower interest rate. This also confirmed that the removal of those old paid-off collections was permanent.